Hi everybody, it's Michael. I'm back again with another one of my walkthrough videos, and today I want to show you Ladies and Gentlemen. Ladies and Gentlemen is a game from the French publisher Libellud. It's distributed among others by Asmodee. What I have here is the version that is language independent and comes with French, English, German and Dutch rules. It's by Loïc Lamy. It's for 4 to 10 players, ages 14 and up, and it takes about 30 minutes to play. Maybe from the player amount 4 to 10 you see that this is probably not a normal game, and yes, it is a team-based game. So basically players form teams of 2, and in each team you'll have a lady and a gentleman. And if we now delve further into this topic, things become a little bit, I would say, cliché or even stereotypical, because the premise of the game is that the gentlemen go to the stock market and earn money by trading goods, and the ladies go shopping, spending that money and buying dresses and shoes and accessoires and everything. At the end of the week, 6 rounds basically, there is a ball, and the lady who has the most elegant outfit will win. Since it's a team game and the teams play at the same time doing different things, and also some of the things that happen even happen in real time and not turn-based, it might be a little hard for me to actually bring across the whole gameplay. I'll try nonetheless. The important thing is that while the ladies and the gentlemen may communicate and are encouraged to throw a little roleplay in there, they are not allowed to share secret information. And this is most important in 2 cases. The lady can never know how much money her gentleman has, and the gentleman can never know which items the lady bought until he's asked to pay for them, and he also can't know about her secret goals. I will now show you a 6-player game, so basically 3 teams. Again, I have to do things one after the other that would normally happen in parallel. And again, with some of the real-time aspects, I have to cheat a little bit, but I hope you have fun and understand what's happening here nonetheless. So, as always, let's start with a brief look at the components. The table is basically split into parts. Over here we have the ladies, and back there we have the gentlemen. We have a 6-player game, so there's 3 teams. We have the orange team with a player marker and a boutique, and then the green team, and then the blue team. For the ladies we have 3 different kinds of wardrobe cards: clothes, jewels and accessories, and also a deck of servant cards. And then each lady has 4 artisan cards to start with, 1 servant, 3 visiting markers for the 3 shops in the game. So if it were a 4-player game, then there would be 4 shops, and each lady would have 4 of these markers. And then finally, since I want to play with the rumor variant, each lady also starts with 3 rumor cards. Now, on the other side of the table, we have the gentleman setup. Here we have warehouses, 1 for each team basically again. Then we have good tokens in the middle, we have 5 per player, plus 3 number tokens. Over here we have a table indicating the value of the different goods. So for example, wheat is the most valuable with 300, then tea for 200, then cotton, coal and precious stones for 100, and gold ingots are always worth 100. Then each player starts with 500 pounds, and these are actually kept secret, and 1 random goods token. So this player starts with some precious stones, this player starts with cotton, and this player starts with coal. And then finally we have 3 contract cards that can be fulfilled with the good tokens. So for example, this one here takes 1 precious stone and 2 coal. If you fulfill it, it's worth 600 pounds. If you fulfill it first, you can choose a premium that is either an extra 300 pounds or 1 additional good token. And for example, this one over here is a little bit easier. It's just precious stones and teas, and there's only 1 premium available to choose. And then finally over here we have the bank with money. The game is played over 6 days or rounds, and after the final day there will be the big ball that everyone is working for. And each day is split into 3 different phases: morning, afternoon and evening. All 3 phases are played by both teams simultaneously, but I'll just show you those phases one after the other. So let's start with the ladies and their morning activities. In the morning, each lady chooses what is available in her favorite boutique. The favorite boutique is the one in front of her, basically the one from their team. So the orange lady has to decide now by using her artisan cards that were dealt to her randomly what is available in the orange boutique. And if you take a closer look, she could either have 5 clothes available, or 4, or 3 pieces of accessory, or 3 pieces of jewels. Now for a little bit more background in how she can decide on this, let's take actually a look at her secret maid card. which will give her bonus points at the end of the game. And this one gives her bonus points if she has anything in her wardrobe from a certain designer. So while this is interesting, it doesn't help us decide here, because the designers are all spread over the different kinds of wardrobe items. But maybe her rumors. So this rumor says she needs to have a dress, because that arrow is pointing to her, and another lady can't have a dress yet. So it would be good for her if she can buy a dress really early on, because then she can get rid of this. This one means that she has to have something from a certain designer, unfortunately another one than this guy here, and the other lady can't have one from that designer. And this one says she should have earrings, and the other lady can't. So basically, the way I see it, there are two choices now. We can either put dresses up for sale or jewelry, and hopefully get some earrings. But let's actually just take this one here for 5 clothes. So this one is placed face down in front of her favorite boutique. Now for the green lady, and of course everything is happening in secret. Her maid gives extra points if she has many accessories by the end of the game, but unfortunately she doesn't have an artisan card that will make accessories available. She only has 2 that make servants available, 1 for jewels and 1 for clothing. Her rumors, however, say that if she has some piece of jewelry and the other lady hasn't, so she decides to put up this card. And finally, the blue lady has 2 accessories, 1 jewelry and 1 servant artisan card. Her maid rewards her if she has pieces of wardrobe of very high elegance, 4. But unfortunately, these cards are no indicator, because basically elegance of 4 can be spread among any of the wardrobe cards. But this card here says that she has to have more servants than another lady, so she decides to put up this artisan card that will make servants available. And now, since all of the ladies have chosen the artisan card, they are all turned up. For us, that's no surprise. But now we have 3 servants, 4 pieces of jewelry, and 5 pieces of clothing available. And now each lady takes from the top of the appropriate deck that many cards as the artisan card offers, and takes a closer look at them. So we have hat, a coat, another hat, and 2 dresses. Now, if you take a close look at these cards, each of them has an elegance rating, and that can vary from 1 to 4. And of elegance points are the victory points at the end of the game, so you're trying to have the most elegant outfit. Each card has at most 2 different designers. So for example, this has 2, this has 1, and there are 3 designers in the game, the blue one, the orange one, and the pink one. And a lady's wardrobe can only consist of stuff from 2 designers. So basically, she could buy these 2 items, but then she can't wear one of them, because then her wardrobe would consist of stuff from the 3 designers. So that is the first rule for the wardrobe at the end of the game, for the ball, that you can't have stuff from more than 2 designers. The next thing is you can't have 2 or more of the same items, or you can't wear two or more of the same items. So basically you can buy 2 hats, but you can only wear 1. And the final thing is you need to have a dress. And now the orange lady would look at all these cards in her hand, and she would have to decide which one to put up for everybody to see in the window of the shop. So basically all of the cards will be available for purchase, but the other players will only be able to see the one in the window. So it could be a good idea to put something very expensive in there to discourage the others from even going to that shop. And actually what she would like to have is one of these 2 dresses, because this is the designer that will give her extra points, the pink one. Also, she needs to have a dress, and having a dress would also maybe help her to get rid of a rumor card. So what she actually decides is to put up this coat into the window. So basically everything is placed like this. 1 card is visible in the shopping window, the others aren't. The green lady decides that this very simple brush with 1 elegance and no designer will be available in her favorite shop. And the blue lady decides to put this maid on top, which will reward you if you have multiple items from the blue designer. And now finally, each lady has to select which shop she actually wants to visit this day. Now the orange lady does want to visit her own favorite shop, so she basically selects the orange marker, puts it face down, hides it with her hand because they all have different shapes, and waits for the other ladies to go. The green lady really wants to have the coat that is available in the orange shop, so she also decides to go there. And finally the blue lady decides to visit the jewelry shop. In the meantime, the men are at the stock market, and they're playing simultaneously against each other, so this will be a little bit hard for me to demonstrate. But basically what they're trying to do is collect the resources to fulfill these contracts. Each gentleman can only use 1 hand. He can flip over tokens, and when he flips over a token he has to decide whether he wants to keep it or put it back. And he's allowed to get 3 resource tokens, and he also has to find 1 number token, and the numbers will determine the player order later on. And as soon as he decides to keep 1 number token, he has to stop. So basically if he finds the 1 and only has 2 resource tokens, until now that's fine, he can keep it because then his team will go first. But on the other hand, he only found 2 resources so far. So I'll just do this now for the blue player. The blue player has 1 precious stone already, and there's 1 contract for precious stone and 2 coal, and another one for precious stone and tea. So basically now each of the gentlemen would do this at the same time. I'll just do it for blue one now, but you'll just have to imagine that it would be way more chaotic. So let's just go. This is a wheat, so let's not keep it. That's a tea. This one we'll keep. That's the 1, we could keep it now, and basically we have enough to fulfill 1 contract. But that's so tempting, let's just put it away at some point, and well, right now none of the others can pick it up. This is cotton. Tea, gold ingot, that's a joker, so let's decide to keep that one. And then basically the wheat is very valuable right now, so let's take this one and then the 1. And basically he would be done right now, but the others would still continue, and I'll just somehow fake this right now. So let's just say that the green player, besides his cotton, ended up with 2 tea, 1 wheat and the number 3. And the orange player, in addition to his coal, he now also has 1 cotton, 1 wheat and 1 tea and the number 2. Then we move into the afternoon, and again we start with the ladies, who now go shopping. Now the orange and the green lady decided to visit L&K, and the blue lady decided to visit Victorian, and nobody decided to visit the Emporium. So let's just start with the Victorian. The blue lady is the only one to go there, so she gets all of the cards available here, and she can select as many as she likes. So we have a very simple brush, we have a necklace, a pair of earrings, and a tiara, and she decides to take the necklace. And she also decides to keep the brush. And the others are discarded, and these are just put face down. At L&K there are 2 ladies who want to shop, so basically turn order will be the decider here. The orange gentleman has acquired the 2 token, while the green gentleman has acquired the 3 token, meaning that orange will be able to go first. Now she can take a look at all of these cards, but only purchase 1, and then pass it on to the other lady, and then each can in turn buy 1 or just simply pass. And the orange lady decides to take this dress. Then the remaining 4 cards are passed to the green lady, and she decides to take this coat, passes back the others, and the orange lady decides to also keep the hat, but then the green lady doesn't want anything any longer, so these are also discarded. Now, in the afternoon the gentlemen will sell the goods they acquired at the stock market, either directly and they get these amounts on the chart, or they try to fulfill contracts, and this is done in turn order, so the blue gentleman will start. He has precious stones, a gold ingot, which is basically a wild card, tea and wheat. So he can definitely fulfill this contract by giving up the stones and the tea, so this will get him 400 pounds, and another 200 because he's the first to fulfill the contract this round, and these are discarded. And then he can also fulfill this contract with the wheat and the ingot as a cotton, so that's another 600 pounds for him. So overall he gets 1200 pounds. The orange player also can fulfill this one for cotton and wheat, so that's 400 pounds for him because he's no longer the first to fulfill this contract. Then he has a piece of coal, but it's only worth 100, so he decides not to use it, but he decides to sell the tea for 200, so he gets a total of 600 pounds. And finally the green player can also fulfill this contract, and he decides to sell his 2 remaining tea for another 400, so he gets 800 altogether. These 2 contracts were fulfilled, so that get discarded. This one wasn't fulfilled, so it sticks around, and it also gets an extra 100 pounds, so whoever is able to fulfill it or honor it will get all the extra cash that's beneath it. And now it's evening phase, where the ladies will hand all their purchases to their gentlemen, their husbands, and the husbands will decide whether they want or even can pay for them. The green gentleman is handed these 2 pieces of jewelry by his wife. They would cost a total of 900 together. He has 1700 on hand, so we can't think of a reason why not to. And in addition, nobody visited the favorite store of the green team, so the top card, the one in the window, can be purchased at a 50% discount. So basically each servant card would normally cost 200, but now it can be purchased for 100. So all these items cost £1,000 altogether. So the green lady puts this servant face down with her other servant, and these two items are now part of her wardrobe and are displayed. The green gentleman is handed this very expensive coat, but this is the only item. He has 1300 on hand, so he of course decides to pay for it. And the orange gentleman is handed these two items for a total of 1700, which he can't afford. He only has 11, but he can reserve items for £100. So he decides to pay this dress because he thinks, well, having a dress is mandatory, so this should be more important. So he pays the 900 for the dress, and then he pays an additional 100 to just keep this one around, so it goes back with the lady, and along with her next purchases she can hand it to him again, and then he can decide again, maybe he'll have enough money by then. And finally, since at any time you can hand out rumors, the orange lady can use this rumor which says she has dress and another lady doesn't, and she hands it to the blue lady. This will be -1 elegance at the end of the game, so basically a negative victory point, and I think the rules are not very clear on this. This is just put face up in front of the lady and she can never hand it off again. Now the green lady has two choices for rumors. She has a 4-star code, so she could either emphasize the fact that she has a code and nobody else does, or that she has a 4-star card and nobody else does, and I think this one is a safer bet, so she decides to give this rumor card to the orange lady. And finally the blue lady decides to pick this rumor card where she has to have more servants than the other lady, and she has 2, everybody else has 1, and she gives it to the green lady. And this is basically the end of the first round and day. Each lady takes back their visit markers. I've already done that. The artisan cards actually stay in front of the shops, and then each lady has to pass her remaining artisan cards to the lady on her right. On the gentleman's side, I've already put the £100 under the contract that wasn't fulfilled. I've discarded the others. This stock has to hold 5 for each gentleman again, so we need to add another 9 from the supply, and after that the number tokens will also be put face down again. And of course we reveal enough new contracts from the supply to have 3 again. So it's morning again. The orange lady decides to put jewels in her favorite store. The green lady goes with accessories. And also, since it's another phase right now and you can only reveal 1 rumor card per phase, and she still has one of the rumor cards that would work, she decides to play this now, where she has a code and someone else doesn't, and she decides to hand this one to the orange lady as well. The blue lady decides to offer clothes, and then she also can play another rumor because she has a necklace and nobody else does, and she decides to give it to the green lady. And the offers are placed into the respective shop windows. The blue lady decides to visit L&K, the orange lady decides to visit Victorian, and the green lady also decides to visit Victorian. As for the gentlemen, we still have the contract with 2 coal and 1 precious stone. Then we have a new one for 2 cotton and 1 wheat. And here you can choose, if you're the first one to fulfill it, either 300 extra cash or 1 elegance point for your lady at the end of the game. And this one is a very big one. It's for 2 coal and 2 tea. And here one of the options is even 2 elegance. And the orange player has 1 coal remaining and the others have nothing. And yeah, I'll just do fake and pretend the selection of the goods right now. And this is the result. The blue lady is the only one at L&K, so let's do that one first. Now she can't take that necklace because she already has 1. I mean, she could, but she could only use 1. The same holds for the earrings, because that would introduce a 3rd designer. Then we have either this tiara for 3 elegance or this one for 4. And since she's trying to get many elegant things, she tries to pick that one and nothing else. Orange and green both went to Victorian. The green lady will go first. So we have 2 pairs of boots and 1 handbag. Now the green lady wants many different accessories, but obviously she can't wear 2 pairs of boots And also her dress already has 2 designers, and the handbag would introduce a third one. Her coat. She decides to take this pair of boots. Now, for the orange lady with the handbag, that's a similar problem. And so she decides to take the boots, and then nobody wants the handbag. The green player can fulfill this contract with 2 cotton and a tea, so he gets 600 and he's the first, and now he has to decide. It's still early, so probably cash is better, so he decides for that one and he gets 900. The green player can fulfill this one. He also decides to take the money, and with the extra 100, that gives him 1000. It took him quite some time, so he's only last, but the orange player was actually able to fulfill this contract with the gold ingot replacing 1 T, and so he decides to take the 800 but keep the card for the 2 extra elegance. The blue gentleman is being handed this tiara for 1300. He has 1600 on hand. However, nobody visited blue shop, and there's also the dress available for 650 because it's discounted by half. So what he actually decides to do is pay for this one, the 650, and then put this one back, so he pays 750. And since there are no £50 banknotes, the discounts are always rounded in your favor, so basically he just has to pay 600 for this one, so 700 altogether. The green player is being handed this pair of boots, which he decides to pay for 700. And the orange player is being handed 2 items, the hat from earlier and a new pair of boots. They would cost 1000 altogether, which he unfortunately cannot quite afford. He only has 900, so maybe it would have been better to take the extra 400, but what can you do? And so he decides to pay the 800 for the hat. And now he has a decision to make whether he should pay the 100, but seeing both these cards, he realizes that his wife probably made a mistake, because that would introduce a third designer anyway, so he just decides to discard it. Now it's time for some rumors. The orange lady now has 1 piece from the blue designer, and she needs to find somebody who doesn't. The blue lady has something, but the green lady doesn't. Then the ladies pass their remaining artisan cards to their right. We reveal new contracts, and we replenish the token bank. And we move into the 3rd round. The ladies are finished with deciding what should be for offer in their favorite stores, and they've also made their decision where they would like to go. For the gentlemen, this morning's interesting because all 3 contracts require at least 4 different goods, and nobody has any left, so they won't be able to fulfill any contracts this round. So they will just have to come by with selling the goods for their market price or hoarding them for the next round. But anyway, this round will see a little decrease in the available cash. The green lady is alone at Emporium, where there are jewels available. And she decides to just take this brush. Both the orange and the blue lady are a Victorian, and the orange lady will go first. Now there are 2 mirrors, 2 umbrellas, and 1 handbag available. The orange lady will be able to hire the servant later on because nobody went to L&K, and this servant will give a bonus if you have a hat, an umbrella, and a pair of earrings, and she already has a hat. So it might not be a bad idea to get an umbrella. The thing is, this one is not possible because it would again have the orange designer, so if she wants an umbrella, she would have to get that one for 700. An alternative would be that handbag, which would be fine with what she already has. And in addition, it's another one by MC, but the MC designer. And again, this is what she's trying to collect. So it's a bit of a tough decision right now, but she actually decides to take the handbag for now. The blue lady decides to take the cheapest item that is available. Then it's back to the orange lady, and she actually takes the umbrella. But then everybody passes. The orange player is first, and he decides to get rid of all his goods for a total of 500. The green player decides to sell a tea and a wheat, which is also 500. And the green player decides to sell 1 tea for 200. The blue player gets handed these 2 items. Altogether they would be 1700, but he only has 1400 available, so he decides to buy the tiara. And then the question is whether to hold on to this mirror or not, but he thinks it's not worth it. So this one is discarded, but this one goes back to his wife. The green player has to decide on this brush, which costs 500, which he pays. And finally the orange player has to decide on the handbag and the umbrella. He has exactly 600, so he would be able to purchase the handbag and keep the umbrella in reserve. but he decides to only pay for the handbag and put the umbrella back under the discard pile. And for the remaining 100 he would be able to hire this servant for his wife, which he does. Play this gossip card, because they're called gossip, not rumor cards. I've been saying that wrong all the time. To the orange lady, because now she has a piece of jewelry and the orange lady doesn't. Now each of the contracts receives a £100 note, and of course the stockpile is refilled. And finally each lady passes the remaining artisan card to the lady on her right, and then she picks up the 3 artisan cards that have been used in her shop before and adds those to her hand again. I just realized I made a small mistake before. Actually, when you purchase something for half the price is rounded up. Not the discount is rounded up, but the price, so basically it's not in your favor, so the green player would have to pay £100 more. So basically he's now broke. And the ladies have decided what should be an offer in each shop, and they've also decided that they all want to go to Victorian today. Then the men are at the stock market again. The orange lady can shop first. Now the handbags, she already has one. The fan has the orange designer, and she needs an umbrella anyway, so she decides to take this one. The green lady is next, and since she's interested in stuff from the blue designer, she decides to take this handbag. Then the green lady is trying to get as many accessories as she can, so she decides to this one. Then the other ladies pass, and then she also takes the fan. The yellow gentleman can't fulfill any contracts because he has only 3 good tokens, so he just decides to sell the 2 valuable ones for the usual 500. The blue player decides to hang on to the cotton and the precious stones and sell the tea and the coal for 300. And then finally the green gentleman's diligence paid off. He can actually fulfill this contract by giving up all 5 of his good tokens, and he decides to take the 3 elegance points. So together with a bonus, that'll give him 1,100. The blue player has to decide whether he can purchase this handbag, and he can just afford the 300, so he decides to pay for it. Unfortunately, this means he can't afford to hire the servant, but instead of hiring something from your favorite shop at a discount, the lady has the option of discarding a rumor card, which she gladly accepts because she wouldn't have been able to get rid of that one. The green player would have to spend 1,400 to purchase both of these items. Unfortunately, he only has 1,300 lying around, so of course he could pay 1,000 for the handbag and keep the fan in reserve. But on the other hand, he has no tokens anymore. There are still 2 contracts out that require 4 tokens, and also his lady hasn't purchased the dress yet. So what he actually does is to decide to pay 600 to purchase the fan and keep the handbag around. And finally, the orange player has to decide on this umbrella. He has 500, so that would be fine. However, there's this brush still available, which he could be able to buy for 200, but then he's 100 short. So what he does is he decides to pay for the umbrella and just let the brush go. And then we move into the 5th round. Ladies have decided what's available, and again 2 of them decide to go to Victorian, but the orange lady decides to go to L&K. For the gentleman, things are interesting because the green player won't be able to fulfill contracts this turn because they all require 4 tokens. The blue player has 2 tokens and the orange player has 1. And this is the result. The orange lady is alone at L&K. She wants some earrings to fulfill this maid card because she already has a hat and an umbrella. And since she also needs items from the pink designer MC, she decides to take this pair of earrings. The other earrings don't make any sense. Well, she could of course take the tiara. Green and blue are both at Victorian, but green goes first. She still needs a dress. There are 3 available. This one has blue designer, which doesn't work, so she decides to take the cheaper one. Then the blue player wants items by the blue designer. Unfortunately, the other things available are the hat and the gloves, but those have the orange designer, and that won't work. So in the end, she decides to purchase nothing at all. Then it's the green lady's turn again, and while she could still use those 2 items in her collection, she already has 2 items, so she decides to also pass. The green player decides to sell 2 tea for 400. the orange player. The orange player can't fulfill this contract, so that's 800. And now this one is basically a voucher for clothing. In 1 round, every clothing that his wife purchases is half off. The thing is, she already has a dress and a hat, so there are not too many items missing, and he's already pretty broke, so he decides to just take the 1200. The green player can fulfill this contract, 800 plus 2000, and then he decides to take this bonus where he gets 2 randomly drawn goods. He already has a gold ingot remaining for the next round, so now he has some precious stones twice. So given the current value, he only got 200 instead of the 400 here, but maybe that'll help him fulfilling some contracts. Blue lady hasn't purchased anything this turn, so what the blue gentleman can do is buy this umbrella for 300. The green player has to deal with these 2 items, which would cost 1700 altogether. He has 1100 available. He thinks that the dress is probably more important, so he pays 900 altogether. And finally, the orange gentleman is looking at 2100, which of course he cannot afford, so he decides to pay the earrings and hold that one back for a total of 1000. And finally, since the orange lady has now earrings, she can pass this gossip card to one of the other ladies, and she picks the green one. And the ladies have decided one final time, and 2 of them want to go to Emporium and 1 wants to go to Victorian. And the gentlemen begin their last round of stock market activities. The orange lady is alone at Victorian. She can't take the handbag because she already has one, and then there are 2 fans and a pair of boots. She knows that she probably won't be able to spend too much, but on the other hand she's alone, so she just takes all 3 items just to make sure. Then the green lady goes first at Emporium. There are 2 dresses, but they're not very interesting for both ladies. Since she already has the orange designer, the green lady can't take the coat, but she can take the hat. And then the blue lady can take the coat, and then the green lady passes, and then the blue lady takes this dress. Maybe, well, she has luck. The orange gentleman can't fulfill any contracts, so he just sells all his goods for 600. The green gentleman is able to fulfill this contract, so he takes 1200. And the blue player can fulfill this contract. He also has 1 cotton remaining, so that would be 1100. And now he has to decide whether he takes an additional 500 or whether he just hires 2 servants. I mean, because he has to use the card now, because it's the end of the game. And maybe he's lucky and draws a servant that his wife can actually use. On the other hand, 500 bucks is 500 bucks. He decides to take just the 1100 and then draw 2 servants. So he just hands them to his wife, and we'll see how they score later on. The green gentleman has to decide on these 2 items. They cost 1400 altogether, which he actually can afford. The green gentleman is looking at 1800, but he only has 1400, so he decides that just the handbag gets purchased. The orange gentleman only has 900 and a lot of items to decide on. Also, you could still hire this maid here, but what probably makes the most sense is to just buy the fan for 600. And then we can go into the final scoring. The orange lady has a dress, that's fine. She doesn't have any duplicate items in her wardrobe, and she only has items from 2 designers. So let's just add up the elegance from all the items. 6, 7, 9, 11, 14, plus the 2 from the contract are 16. Then this servant will give her 3 points if she has a hat, an umbrella and an earring, and she has all 3 of those. So that's another 3, so now we're at 19. And this maid will give her 3 points if she has 4 items from the MC designer, and she has exactly 4. So another 3 points brings us to 22. And then minus 3 gossip cards brings us back to 19. The green lady also has 1 dress, no duplicate items, and only stuff from 2 designers. So that's 7, 9, 11, 14, 16. Plus 3 is 19. Her servant would give her 3 points if she had 4 or more accessories. She only has 3, so that's only 1 point, so we're at 20. Minus 4 gospel cards is 16. The blue lady only has items from 2 designers. She has 2 dresses, so she has to decide which one to wear, and she picks this one. So this is put away. 4, 6, 8, 9, 13, 14, 60. Then this maid will give her points if she has items that don't have a designer. So she has 1, 2, 3. So that's 1 point. So we're at 17. Then this one will give her bonus points if she has items that have an elegance of 4. She has 2. So that's 3 points. So we're at 20. This one here will give her points if she has items by the blue designer. Unfortunately, she only has 3 now that she decided to discard the other dress. So that's only 1 point, so we're at 21. And this one will give her points for items that have an elegance of 1. And she has exactly 2. So that's 1 point. So we're at 22. Minus 1 gossip is 21 for the blue team, making them the overall winner. Well, I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of Ladies and Gentlemen. Although maybe the simultaneous team play didn't come across too well in this video, I hope you nevertheless now know what this game is about, how it plays, and how all the different elements integrate with each other. And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Bye bye.